In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, Your Excellency, Mr. Lodria, Your Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Your Excellency, Council members, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by congratulating you, Mr. President, on the occasion of assuming the presidency of the Council this month and for convening this high-level meeting to address the situation in my country, Libya. I would also like to thank His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, for his personal follow-up and efforts in order to reach peaceful resolution to the crisis in Libya. I would also like to thank Mr. Jan Kubic, the Special Envoy of the Secretary General, for his briefing on the latest developments in Libya. We wish the UN support mission in Libya all the success in its efforts to assist the Libyans and to provide support and consultation in order to resolve the Libyan crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the Security Council holds its meeting today to address Libya in circumstances different than before because of the division and differences and wars of the past years. Today, we live to witness a glimmer of hope to emerge from the dark tunnel that has lasted for long years. By the grace of God and Libyan efforts, and with the support of the United Nations and friendly and sisterly nations, we have been able to reach a more stable and more positive situation in Libya. This occurred under this government of national unity. We are seeking to achieve stability through the Libyan Stabilization Initiative and through working with our international partners on both tracks, the security and economic tracks. Our government represents everyone without excluding anyone, and it is free from the conflicts over legitimacy that Libya has suffered for long years. By the grace of God, we were able in a brief period, despite all the challenges, to unite most executive institutions in the country. And we look forward to continue fulfilling all entitlements of the sovereign institutions, which is the purview of the House of the Representatives and the High Council of State. We urge them on this occasion to accelerate work to unite these institutions so that the government is able to work as efficiently and effectively as required. On this occasion, we would like to thank the UN mission and the Financial Audit Committee that has audited the accounts of the Central Bank, leading to the recommendation of uniting the bank in Tripoli, which would improve the economic situation in the state and which would reflect positively on the life of citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to emphasize that the choice to hold the parliamentary and the presidential elections on the 24th of December is a national choice and is an entitlement for our people. It requires solidarity and close cooperation between everyone, each according to their part and responsibility. At the forefront of the tasks ahead is to achieve the constitutional basis and the necessary electoral law as soon as possible. We in the executive power are doing our part to support this historic entitlement. We have formed the Ministerial Committee to support the elections and have allocated the amounts available to support the High Commission for the elections. Despite the national budget not having been endorsed in the House of the Representatives, this is delaying our ability to improve citizens' lives and fulfill their needs, particularly humanitarian needs. And it's also delaying our ability to provide a conducive environment for holding the elections. As for securing the elections, we have instructed the Ministry of Interior to train 30,000 personnel to be responsible for securing ballot centers in all of Libyan territory. We are following up on this important issue to secure the safety of electors, candidates, and the entire election process. In this regard, I call on my sisters and brothers in the House of Representatives and the High Council of the State and the members of the Libyan Political Dialogue Forum to fulfill their responsibilities and allow us to reach consensus so that we can hold the elections in the scheduled time. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of mercenaries and foreign fighters who are present on Libyan territory remains one of the most impediments to stability in Libya. We emphasize today before your august council the need for you to assist us in addressing very strongly this matter. All parties must abide by the relevant Security Council resolutions and the understandings reached in Berlin I and Berlin II. All the states participating have expressed their commitment to the Security Council resolutions and to respect the sovereignty of Libya and its territorial integrity. We would also like to emphasize this continued presence is a real and serious risk to the current political process. And it also threatens the efforts to continue the ceasefire and to continue uniting the army in Libya. As you know, the withdrawal of the mercenaries and foreign fighters were among the provisions of the ceasefire agreement that was signed in October 2020. And today, from here, I would like to pay tribute to them for their efforts and their patriotism despite all the challenges. And we would like to reiterate in this regard our continued efforts to fulfill the confidence-building measures, including reopening the coastal road and releasing the detainees from both sides. In this context, allow me to summarize the position of our government that is reflected through our efforts towards stability in both the economic and security spheres. Firstly, the Government of National Unity emphasizes that the continued presence of the mercenaries and foreign fighters is unacceptable. We emphasize that they must immediately be withdrawn, and we remind the relevant states of their responsibilities towards the acts of their citizens outside their territory and the need to immediately withdraw their citizens. Second, we call on the international community to support the Libyan process to unite the army and the security forces within a comprehensive security strategy that includes implementation of DDR programs and security sector reform and securing the borders to consolidate stability and to prevent threats against neighboring countries and in the Sahel region. These measures will allow the state to control its territories and borders and allow us to face the real enemy, which is terrorism and extremism in all its forms, and trans-border crime and human trafficking. Ladies and gentlemen, our government is also working to address illegal migration, and we value all the efforts that realize that migration is not only addressed through the Mediterranean or the Libyan coast, but must be addressed at the source. Its causes must be addressed. It is a human global issue and cannot be one or any single state's responsibility. Thirdly, the Government of National Unity would like to remind your Council of its promises and commitments to preserve the Libyan people's resources represented in the assets frozen by the relevant Security Council resolutions. We emphasize once again that the measures taken by some states through their exploitation of Resolution 1970 are a source of great concern. We find that these actions contradict the purpose of the resolution. Accordingly, we find that continuing these actions will hinder Libyan resources, which your August Council has promised to preserve. We emphasize once again our previous requests, in which we called to amend the sanctions regime in a manner that allows the relevant Libyan institutions to manage their assets despite being frozen. This will allow the institutions to carry out their work without impediments. In addition, this will prevent further harm to the value of these assets. We also call on the Council to cooperate by implementing some amendments to the exemptions in its resolution in order that we may use these exemptions for humanitarian purposes as per the relevant Security Council resolutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the Government of National Unity emphasizes that it will carry forth the necessary economic reforms to improve services offered to citizens and to allow decent living. We call on the relevant states to the situation in Libya to work to create a conducive environment for productive collective efforts and to end attempts to interfere and to weaken our government, which only harms the Libyan citizen and also harms the interests of states who have investments in Libya. Mr. President, we would like to emphasize that the success of the political process in Libya in order to end the crisis requires comprehensive national reconciliation. Therefore, we call once again on the international community and in particular the African Union through coordination with the United Nations to support the efforts of the Presidential Council and the Government of National Unity and to launch the path towards national reconciliation and transitional justice. These efforts will rebuild the confidence and support stability in the nation. We also call on your Council to address the spoilers on the local and international fronts who continue to threat to wage war and continue their use of military solutions and work with all their might to deprive the Libyan people of their willpower. In conclusion, we seize this opportunity to reiterate our commitment to serve the Libyan people, and we reiterate our commitment to the world that the choice to wage war is a choice of the past. We will work with all our might and will cooperate with all Libyans to renounce differences and wars and to begin to build a united, stable, modern Libya. Thank you very much for your concern for my country and my people, and may the peace of God be upon you. Thank you, Mr. President.